You've played the good girl employee game for way too long, smiling at the bonus letters, saying thank you to the average pay raises, never pushing back. But here's the thing, good girls don't get rich. And in this video, I am going to show you how to beat your employer at their own game and get them to find your financial freedom. And the secret is they won't even realize it. So stay tuned, because this is the very money you are leaving at the table, the money that you are going to turn into assets that create cash flow and infinitely more choice for the freedom that you're craving. Hello and welcome back to the Rich Woman Revolution channel. My name is Rebecca Muriuki. I am a Big Four Associate Director turned freedom mentor and founder of the Rich by Design Women's Movement. I help women in the Big Four turn their paychecks into assets that create cash flow that really allows them to live the life that they desire. A life by design. So if that's what you want, I would highly appreciate if you could click the subscribe button and like this video if you are enjoying this content, because it tells me what content I should create more for you to help you in this journey from paycheck dependence to financial freedom. Let's get right into it. Okay, before we continue, I need to let you in on a secret. Most women are trying to achieve financial freedom by chasing after random savings targets or trying to put as much money into a market fund as possible. And let me tell you, saving does not create wealth. There is just one number that you need to know off the top of your head. You need to be working towards consistently. And no, it is not 6 months of your expenses either. That is why I created the freedom number formula. In under 60 minutes, you are going to know exactly what number to be working towards so that you can create enough cash flow to fund the lifestyle you actually want to be living and to create choice. Whether you want to continue working full time, whether you want to leave and do something that you actually love to wake up doing, this is the only number that you need to be working towards and singing every single day. I have dropped a link to the freedom number formula worksheet in the description below. So make sure you grab yourself a copy and make sure you do the exercise, because this is truly the start to your financial freedom journey. Okay, let's get back to the video. Here is what I am seeing a lot. Paychecks keeping women dependent on their employees. A random finance committee somewhere dictating how much worth was your work in the last year, and you just being complacent and saying thank you. And here's the thing, your employer wants you to be grateful because that is cost efficient for them. If you don't push back, it's cost efficient for them. I see women leaving money way too much at the table, and it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating when you look back over the years of the work that you've put into your corporate career and you know that the money that is in your bank account, when you calculate your net worth, you know that it is not a true reflection of how much work you've put in. I've been there for nearly a decade in my corporate career. I never pushed back. I never negotiated on pay raises because I thought that high income was the key to wealth. High income was the key to freedom. And no matter how much more I earned in my corporate career, even when I made associate director, it still did not feel like financial freedom, and it certainly was not financial freedom. So how do we make this shift? It's so important, first of all, to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. Literally, you got to start thinking like your employer. If you're in the Big Four, your employer is a partner who is an owner in the firm that you work for. And you've got to start thinking, how can I turn this money that I am earning into assets that are going to pay me? Because it is assets that ultimately create financial freedom, not high income. And there are so many studies out there that show that even the people at the highest income bracket are living paycheck to paycheck. And I know that's not you, but it's just to show you how the secret to financial freedom is not earning more. This is just a means to the destination. And so it's important that you start to think about, how can I extract more, not so that you can reward yourself, but so that you can start putting your money to work 10 times harder for you. And you do that by investing that money into assets. Okay, so the first pay raise offer is not enough. And I'm not saying every time you get a pay raise, you need to like push back and ask for more. What I am encouraging you to do is start taking stock of your accomplishments. This is what I did in my penultimate year before I made director. I started to think really about how I could extract as much as I could from this position. And of course, you've got to work for it, right? So I negotiated a special contract, and that contract was going to unlock additional amounts of money if I achieved certain outcomes. Okay. And I took a bet on myself, right? I wasn't so focused on how much more money I was earning on a month-to-month basis. I was really focused on the big prize, which was this bonus that I was going to unlock dependent on my performance. So that's the first thing I want you to do, is really to start taking stock of your achievements and how can you use this to create a solid case study for you to earn more. Then you've got to flip the script. As I mentioned, this is not the destination. This is a means. You've got to start thinking of delayed gratification. That is the second thing, because it's delayed gratification that is going to help you stay steady on this path to wealth. In fact, I was listening to Diary of the CEO a few days ago, and Kevin O'Leary, who is a shark on US's version of Shark Tank, he was saying wealth really comes down to one thing: discipline. I would say wealth comes to discipline, but you've also got to have the assets. You've also got to have the paycheck, and you've got to have the mind of an owner, of an investor, and not an employee. So instead of thinking of your bonuses to go on holiday, how can you think of, okay, maybe I am going to allocate 70% of it towards buying assets intentionally, and then 30% of it, I am going to use it to reward myself and spoil myself, right? I am not all about self-deprivation, okay? I am not all about that life, but it is important that you start to be intentional, and it does require a lot of discipline. When in the last 2 years of my role as an associate director, I allocated almost everything, if not everything, every extra amount I earned over and above my base salary, I used it towards down payments for my properties. I used it towards paying for, the legal fees or the upfront cash required. And that is how I got myself into the short-term rental real estate game. That is how I went from zero to owning 3 properties in under a year. I did not have an uncle who gave me a second lease of life. Okay. I literally used the money that I extracted from my corporate job to really accelerate my path to financial freedom. And that brings me to my third point. It is so important that you shift away from this mindset of, I'm just going to save more, because saving is not going to create wealth. Saving creates safety, but it is not a strategy for cash flow that gives you options, that gives you choices as to where you want to work, how you want to spend each day of your life, what kind of work you want to be doing, right? And what kind of lifestyle you ultimately want to be. And I really was so maniacally focused on one investment vehicle. And that is how I just put all my effort, all my focus, my mental focus, and my financial focus into one investment vehicle, and then just scaled up. And I continue to scale up in my short-term rental portfolio. And if you want to learn more about that, by the way, I do have a secret podcast where I lay down exactly how I created my short-term rental portfolio that pays me up to $5,000 a month while I was still working, right? So I started all this while I was still in my corporate career. So if you want to get access to that, I'm going to drop the link in the description box below as well. The last and final point I want to share about how to make your employer fund your freedom is actually all about you. And this is the self-mastery piece. Now, you cannot go to war. For those of you who have read the book Art of War, you cannot go to war and expect to win if you have not mastered yourself. If you have not fully understood what are your strengths, what are your challenges, what are your blind spots, then you leave a lot of room for the enemy to come in and take advantage of that. and literally take you down. I'm not saying that wealth is a battleground, but it is. It's not easy, right? If it was easy, then we would have so many more millionaires, billionaires in the world. And that is why human design is hands down the most powerful self-awareness tool that I have come across and that I use with my clients, because it helps you understand how you are meant to make empowered decisions in your investment journey. It helps you understand your biggest fears, the top 20 fears that women experience on their journey or stop them from investing, because you could have all the strategy, right? You could have the A to Z of how to create consistent cash flow from short-term rentals or Airbnbs like I did, but that doesn't mean that you are actually going to go and implement. And self-mastery is really the difference between women who stay on the fence for years and women who are in the arena creating wealth and compounding it, and who are going to be so much further ahead 3-5 years from now. So if you enjoyed this video, I am going to be doing another video soon on how to actually create cash flow very fast while you're still working your corporate job, while you are still busy doing all things, and without necessarily having a ton of cash to get started. Those are the things that I see women in the big four, women in corporate or in high pressure jobs, stopping them from actually going and doing the thing. Okay, so in summary, you got to stop being grateful. You've got to go get the bag, negotiate. Negotiating is not just about when you are getting a job. You got to negotiate once you're in. That's how you maximize your income. And delayed gratification. So you're going to turn that income into assets and cash flow that is going to pay you over time. That's what delayed gratification is. And the last point that I shared, or the last 2 points, was all about picking one lane in your investment journey. I picked short-term rentals, and I'm going to talk more about that in this channel. And finally, self-mastery. That is how you're going to stay in the wealth game and you're going to win this wealth game. All right. If you are a woman who works in the big four and you truly want to turn your paycheck into cash flow, and you want to do that fast, like you're not here to play games, you are ready to do that fast, and you want to work with someone who has done it before, I have a very special call that I want to extend to you. It's called the Corporate Breakup Cash Flow Call. This is where I am going to show you what are the gaps that are holding you back from actually going out there to create the cash flow, and what are your next best steps to go out there and make it happen in the next 12 months. It is a free call, no strings attached. Again, the link is going to be in the description. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you would be so kind to subscribe to this channel. Until next time, bye.